all four authors of the bill are in tough races this fall, including Deming, who is trying to unseat Marco Rubio in Florida. The police funding bills are aimed at blunting campaign attacks from Republicans who have accused Democrats of wanting to defund the police and failing to curb rising crime rates. So, like you said, Ole, it's making the Democratic Party look bad, and that's all they care about, not the effects of something like this would have on people. Go ahead.
And with no acknowledgement of the fact, this is the thing, they love to dismiss us as like the theorists, like we're, the amount of times I've been called idealistic is unbelievable, right? Like we're all the ones that's being fantasyful and in the clouds, but there's countless studies and statistics that show that giving more money to police doesn't have any effect on solving crime or public safety. America gives more money to policing right now. Police have more money than more countries. They're countries with militaries with less money than NYPD has. We give more money to this, and less than 2% of crime is solved by police departments. And that's the honest conversation we need to have, is how does giving more money to police solve gun crime? How does it solve gun crime? Here's the thing. And also, not only do police not solve crime or prevent crime, but police, even in theory, even at their best, so even if police work the way they want them to work, they still only respond to crime. Right. So the presence, they only respond to crime. You showing me all these sensational stories has nothing to do with how we got there. That's just the reality of it. I'm like, listen, you don't think it's more likely we have all this gun crime? Could it also be that America is one of the largest manufacturers of guns in the world? Could it be that? Could it be the wholesale access to guns being manufactured all through the country? Could it be the love and enamoration and all this worship y'all do around the Second Amendment? Could it do the way that y'all make guns inherent to white culture and white people with their guns and everything? Right. Could any of those things have anything to do with gun crime? But no, it's like, let's give more money to the police. And let's also make sense. Let's give more money to the police to do what, right? They're ready to be armed. We have a police state. We have a police state with police that are armed and with militarized weapons to go throughout our communities. So your answer to gun crime or to violence or the presence of these things is to continue to put out a militarized police force with weapons. Could we...
doesn't make any sense.
It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Like it doesn't, and that's why they don't want to have an interrogation as to why. That's my thing. It's like having alarmist conversations inherently prevents an interrogation is how we got here. That's why they love, because it requires less work. If you just end a conversation with people are just bad, you know what I mean? And like that's what people have those conversations with me all the time. It's like
asking.
If you, at the end of the day, if I have a problem, if you don't want to have a problem anymore, you have to address the problem. You have to figure out how you got the problem. It's not about whether or not I like it. People also want to have a conversation about who deserves. Is this person bad? Is this person good? How do I feel about it? What my emotional response? And none of that shit has anything to do with preventing this thing from happening again. At the end of the day, I have clients all the time. It's not about whether or not I like him, dislike him, whether I would do it if I was him. It's about understanding how my client got there in front of me. You know what I mean? And how do we prevent this from happening again? And that interrogation has to happen no matter how you emotionally feel. But they take that out of things by just convincing there are just these bad people. There's nothing that could be done. So abuse them. And in the world, and you know what's interesting? Someone made this point. I can't remember if it was like on a media thing I was talking to, or it was a private conversation I was having at some point this week. So, but I had a talk with somebody that said, we need to start having these gentle parenting white folk come and talk about policing and crime. And she said that, and that was a beautiful. I was like, that's an actual excellent point. They get that is not an effective way to educate anybody or to get a certain response from people on anything. It's just not. It's just not the way you go about getting anything. I'm like, if you think somebody's bad, at the end of the day, the same way I said, I want people to be more receptive. When I would go on the Young Turks, I go on these places, I want their audience to be more receptive to my message or what I'm saying about abolition. So I don't talk to them. I don't come at them with necessarily what is my sincerest thought process about, these things. We'll come at it like, how do I understand? What are they going to be more amenable? You know what I mean? Let me acknowledge where this would sound this way to you. And I think about it that way. In the same breath, there are going to be people in this world, if you don't like me, if you want to get something from me, the approach is not going to be to come to me and be like, I can't stand your black ass. You the worst. You a demon. Right. I know you ain't shit we could do about you. Then I'm like, I'm about to be on worse time than I was already on. If you vilify people, if you treat them like that, if you tell them that they're lost, what do you expect to get from them? Like, what do you expect? You get a lot. I can honestly, as someone who's represented over 1,000 people, I have really positive relationships with most of my clients. Like, when I complain about the stresses of being a public defender, it's very rarely my clients. It's always some other politics or something. It's very rarely me and my clients see eye to eye. You know what I mean? I get them. I know where they're coming from, because a lot of what my role in it is just recognize. I'm not here to judge them or to get into this analysis of how I feel about you personally or whatever. It's about assessing the situation, how you got there, you know, and how we could avoid these different circumstances, and like validating how that happened. Because there's always a how. There's always a how. Whether or not you acted this way or you did that, there's a reason why, but they don't interrogate that. And I think that's a lot of the problems that we have, is they create this conversation around just fuck them. Just immediately, just fuck them. Oh, that's why they have so many intentional gatekeeping things and conversations. That's why we make the violent crime, non-violent crime distinction. So you could just completely throw away people. Never mind the fact that violent crime is a legal definition. It doesn't actually have anything to do about whether or not there was any violence or anybody was harmed. But if people get on board, people co-sign the idea that there's certain people that don't deserve their analysis. They don't deserve that forgiveness. They don't deserve only these people. Then that inherently leaves the system in place. It's validating and legitimizing the system, because it says, no. It doesn't matter all the evil atrocities that the system does and all these different things. That's good. It's just a couple of people. We don't like that it happened to Khalif, but do it to the other 2 million people, you know? And that's the thing about this cycle.
But American culture that's ingrained. That sort of outlook has been ingrained, because you have to think of the history of the United States. They landed here, and the white population that wasn't part of the ruling class had to be fine with the killing of all the indigenous people, and then they had to be fine with all the enslaved Africans. So there's always been this creation and sub-white culture that separates themselves from those people, even though they're not gonna, like, most white people are like, if you're a racist, most racists don't even come encounter black people, but they're racist based off of what? They're racist based off of something else, not actual encounters with actual people of color. I know we've been going long, and I know I can keep going, so we're gonna be winding down. Go ahead, Nick. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we appreciate, like, you've been very generous with your time. Let's do some super chats, and we can wrap at 2 hours. I don't know if you want to say on CJ, but let's read some super chats, and we can get you out here. There was a great conversation. Thank you for $2. With our eyes wide, are we talking about Gotham City or New York City? Always great super chats from our friend there. Thank you for the support. Beefer, that's the super sticker, the 999. I just read all three of yours. I saw you sent inspirational convo. Thank you for all three of these super chats. They're speaking up about policing, make y'all more afraid of the police. I saw what they did to people in Ferguson, and me and CJ talk about this. I'd rather be paranoid than be unprepared. I'm not surprised at anything that this state.
But it is a reflexive sort of response to see a police officer. It is a reflective thing for me, and I think for a lot of black people, maybe black men, maybe more so, but it's a reflexive. It's like, I don't see a cop and go, oh, I feel like I'm going to be safe around here. It's literally the opposite. Like, if the cop's not there and there's literally a crime and fight, I feel more safe that the cop is not there. Literally. Yeah. And that's the experience of black people. A lot of black people. Go ahead.
For me, because this is a conversation I feel like I have a lot, because my mommy, when I initially, started kind of doing this work in the larger like media advocacy, my mother was every day having a stroke. Every day my mother is worried. She's only just stopped being in a constant worry about my safety. And I have friends, especially my black male friends. I have a lot of close black male friends, and they'll call me like, "Hey, you was really spitting. Relax. They're gonna," you know what I mean? Like, you was saying what we would have, but I have a lot of friends that are really concerned about the safety assessment of it. But for me, I'm just this is just who I am, right or wrong. I'm just not a scary person. Fear is not much in particular. That's just not an emotion I'm much about. I have anxiety, but I'm not much afraid. And I think I always recognized, I'm privileged in so many, and there are so many Black people before us currently that have been killed, that have become political prisoners, that don't even have the benefit of being able to be in a space where they could speak up, where they could say these things. So I recognize so much privilege in even being able to say the things that I'm saying and advocate for the things I wanted to get into these spaces. And to me, that's more important. Ultimately, it's like, I'm not actually, whether or not I should be, I know it's a real consideration. I told a story on Twitter once, a court officer attacked me, actually earlier this year, a court officer attacked me in court. And logically, I really can't think of any other reason other than they have a pre-existing, you know what I mean, thought process or feeling about me because of whatever I do, the work I do, the advocacy I do outside of court. And I've had police brutality cases where I could see that police, like, you know, where the police is stationed outside my home. I've had these kinds of things where I'm like more cognizant of it. But ultimately, I just think I have to use, there's a certain privilege that I have and I'm aware of it, right? Even as a woman, as a lawyer, this is a certain way that even if I go to interact with the police respond to me differently than they do the rest of the people living in my own neighborhood. And I see that in the bodega. And I've just always been the kind of person that I'm going to speak up. If something ain't right to me, like, I'm going to speak up for it. And this is just too not right for me to not say anything. So does it make me more afraid of them? I look at the police as the police is a force that's there to oppose and to subjugate Black people yes. Like me, period. They were always that. So, you know, it makes me I'm more aware. I'm aware of it, but it's like, I got to say what I got to do regardless.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you for the $5. And Rive, I know where Jane grew up well, and I'm sure he barely ran into cops or Black people. He has no experience. He has a lot of experience yelling at Black airport workers. I know that's for them for. I don't know if you guys saw that video of Jen melting down at the airport. Here it
no,
is.
It looks like she hasn't seen it. The look on her face.
I don't play the whole thing. I'm gonna play only just a few seconds of it because it's so cringe. This is not how someone who's an ally of workers speaks to other workers, by the way. So anyway, I'll play just a little bit.
3 hours, and American Airlines sucks. They decided for whatever reason to screw everybody on this flight.
Supervisor, you at least got to be honest. Is there a flight? Is there a plane? You got to be honest. Is there a plane? Is there a plane? Where's the plane? Where's the plane? Is there a plane? Where is it? Where's the plane? You know, but listen, if we just sit here and take it, they'd have us here until 6 a.m, and then they'd fuck us even harder, okay? So I need to, you're a supervisor, aren't you? Where's the plane?
Sorry, I'm not going to answer your question.
No, I know, because I've been here for 4 hours. Don't give me this. Where's the plane? Here, I got a question for you. When did you make the decision that we weren't going to have a plane? When did you make that decision? Who made the decision? Who made the decision that we weren't? It's funny to you, right? It's not funny to us. Who made the decision? Who made the decision? Who made it? Well, who is it? That's what I'm asking. Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it?
To do your job, someone came to you and said, "Sir,
we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right."
Stop for now.
Bullshit.
So I'm not gonna put the whole thing. It's literally 3 minutes.
I would have lost that job that day. I tell you that right now.
All I'm saying is I feel like that person would have a problem being in Rikers. Like, you know what I mean? For an extended period, you know what I mean? In 4 hours, like, I'm away, stressing you out. Like, imagine you get arrested for some bullshit, a traffic infraction, and you gotta wait 18 to 21 hours before you even get arraigned. And now they slap a fine on you, and now you're stuck in Rikers. I'm just saying, there are worse oppressions.